Welcome to the Well Played DLC podcast, Australia's juiciest gaming podcast. I am Zach Jackson. Joining me is James Wood
Howdy, gamers.
and Mr. Ash Whaling.
Ruby off. James stole my greeting. Usually I call people gamers.
Hello, gamers again.
They are. You know, you
Hello.
gotta call them out every week.
Yeah. Hold them accountable. G'day, gamers.
How
exactly.
many
What have
non-gamers
you
do you reckon listen to this podcast?
I think my wife does.
I'm not
I
sure
don't
how many
think she's a gamer.
gamers listen to this podcast.
Oh, wow.
Shout
Less
outs.
than 10 seconds in, we've already been completely owned.
If you do listen to this podcast, shout outs to you. Good job.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
very
it.
white tonight. Do you
Yeah.
feel that?
No, I do.
Yeah.
I need to get
My
that
blue is
good.
getting washed out.
Yeah, looks you two look really good. I look very pale.
Do I? I always think I look like I have jaundice.
You got good.
It's like
Good.
a touch.
You got good skin
Touch of
tone.
the jaundice.
Just a little olive.
Yeah, that's fine.
Just a tad.
Yeah.
I always think I look too pale, so it's fine. It's all good.
You look good.
Got all
Like, I'm
my-
Italian, right? And like I feel like I
Yeah.
got the hair of an Italian, but not the complexion of one.
Oh,
It's
I'd agree
very
with that.
frustrating.
I would agree with that
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, you can't all be winners.
No, that's it.
All right. Well, Ash, good to have you here. How you been?
Yeah, cold. Tasmania's doing that usual descent into the chilly hell that is the later months, so enjoying that.
Did you go check out what's that thing in the sky? Aurora Borealis? Is that how
Aurora,
you say it?
Borealis, localized entirely within my kitchen. I did actually. I nipped outside to have a quick look over my back fence, and I was actually shocked to see it. And I thought it was pretty cool. There we go. There's a little picture on my phone. Oh, whoa, look, it's got like
Oh,
lines
cool.
and stuff. Hey.
Hey.
Then like a dude who lives like 6 doors up posted on Facebook his picture, and it just completely shit all over mine. So I just quietly pretended I didn't take a photo. People were like, did you see it? I'm like, nah, not really. You should check out Isaac's
Nah.
photo. It's way better. I didn't realize it was a competition, but if it was, I lost by a mile.
Mm, very nice, James. You probably didn't get so lucky, did you? I don't think it reached
Not
you.
really. No, it was no. Like a slight glow, maybe. But I also don't know if that's just me just looking for it. So,
Fair. Good
Yeah.
question for you. Question without notice. Has anyone been to New Caledonia here?
no.
Mm,
No.
Okay. Anyway, I'm thinking of going next month, but it's either that or like Fiji.
That'll be fun.
Well, you see, you think that, right? This is just my luck, right? I think I have shit luck, just not in general, but like just shit luck with things. Like I support shit sports teams. Everyone
true.
hates my taste in
Oh.
music.
Wow.
And fucking.
What about your taste in games?
Everyone hates that as well.
They do.
Unless it's Ari. Anyway, like last night, Anna and I were looking at New Caledonia, and we're like, cool. I think we've looked at this place. She did a little bit of research today. Came highly recommended from a family friend, and then like 2 hours later, she looks on Google News, and it's like civil unrest in New Caledonia. The airport has been closed, and Anna's like, fuck that. We are not. So back to
It's
the
a
drawing board.
conspiracy. They cooked it up to keep you out.
What is that? Well, I mean,
It
I
is
did get to
interesting
go
that
to
you've managed to
Mauritius
turn
for COVID.
political and social upheaval in a country into your misfortune, apparently.
I mean, I haven't
To
read
a
like
minor inconvenience on
Yeah,
your end.
it's just the timing, right? You know what I mean? Like fucking how to
I
treat
mean,
for
How
Mar-
inconsiderate.
Sure.
Of,
I know, right? Like just wait until I've been there and then fucking revolt. Like anyway, I don't even know like
Yeah.
what it's about. I just got secondhand information,
Guys,
but
can
you know,
like, just delay the uprising.
that's it. I mean, we are
That's
big
not-
in New
yeah.
Caledonia. This is the biggest game podcast in New Caledonia. So, if you could do me a favor and just park the
That's our
pitchforks,
MCs, Yeah.
let
Break
me
it
go
up.
and enjoy my luxury holiday. And
Can solve the world's problems just one jaunt at a time.
but yeah, no. Yes. Bad luck. Oh well, boo me. How are you, James?
I'm okay. I'm also cold. Yeah, it's I don't know. I said it before. I think I'm getting sick. I don't want to, but I kind of you just got a bit of a like a feeling in the old bones that you're
Bit
like,
of funk,
something's
yeah.
Something's
Yeah.
sneaking up. Something's
Yeah.
nesting within you. Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm.
I mean, I would blame the drop in temperature, but who knows? It will be what it will be.
Mm. Very nice, very nice. I do go see Caskets again on Sunday, James.
Oh, that's nice.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Were
we
they the lead this time? Like headline?
they were the headline, yeah, they were the headline. And then we went to the after party at
Ah,
yeah, so we went
That's a
to
great
we went to Heartbreaker before and then the show, and then the show
Ah,
finished, so then we
yep.
went, and then that was just down, that's where we saw Don Brocco, and then we walked down the road back to Heartbreaker, and then we decided to go to the after show party, and the band turned up and had a nice little chat. So best mates
Very
with
good.
Caskets. So
Shout outs. You know?
shout outs to
Well.
them. They're big fans as well. They told me.
Mm.
told me
Did you
that-
thank them for listening to the podcast?
I did. They asked for a photo, and I said, "Look, no paparazzi on
Keep it on the
Sunday
low.
night."
Yeah. We don't want the people in New Caledonia getting onto you.
That's right. All right, let's talk video games. Anyone played anything that they want to talk about that isn't content? I do. So I played Dungeons of Hinterberg, which is a game
Hey.
I've been juicing on for quite a while here on this podcast. It was in our 40 most anticipated games of the year. This is that cell shaded. Would you call it Borderlands kind of style art? It's probably not really Borderlandsy, but it's got
I
that
think it's
kind
more
of
traditional. It's more
Yeah.
traditional cell shading.
Yeah,
Borderlands has sort of its own aesthetic nowadays.
and it has like I don't know what the word is, but like it's got like the this look. It's like a little circles that are in the cell shades, if that makes sense. If you see it, like you'll know what I'm talking about. But
Oh, is it like the copy book shading where things are sort of dotty to shadow? Yeah.
Yes. Which is like very, very, very cool. Anyway, they had a little play test, got access to the first 2 in-game days of that, which is about an hour. There's actually a gameplay video. I didn't write a piece on it. I was going to, but I just fanged up a playtest gameplay video. It's gone all right. Thank you for those who have watched it. But yeah, I really, really quite enjoyed it. This is not probably a game on paper that you would think is my style. Like if I said to you, hey, this is a social sim RPG slasher, you'd be like, doesn't kind of sound like a fully like my kind of game. And then you see it and you go, yep, I can see it. Yeah, so you play as this tourist who goes to this Austrian alpine town of Hinterberg, and it's like a tourist destination for people who go and slay monsters, and you go to all these dungeons. And yeah, I won't talk too much about it. The video's up there, you can watch it because the game does come out in July, so we'll probably talk more about it in depth then. But had a good time. Quite chill, quite charming. The hacking and the slashing is pretty cool. The only thing I kind of struggled a little bit to get used to is just the dual stick, the 2 dual sticks. The way that the you got to kind of angle the camera with your right but move with the left. It just kind of just took me a little bit to kind of get used to. Does that make sense?
Isn't that how most?
Well, I feel
3D
like if you
movement
play like, and I could be wrong here, but RE4, right? Is that controlled by 1 analog or 2 analogs?
For movement?
Yeah, maybe I'm just an idiot.
RE4 was that with Chris and Shiva?
No,
No,
No.
No.
that's RE5. I mean, same
Okay, right.
basic movement though.
like do you
Like tank
control with the
control.
left? Maybe I'm just an idiot. That just could be it.
Possible.
Because it was kind of like one of those things where you have to, how do I explain it? Because it's 2 analogs and you've got a R2, R1, I can't remember. The back buttons for your attacking. You kind of got to, you know what I mean? You kind of got to. Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
It's not fixed camera.
No, you got to move the camera with your right stick, move forward with your left stick, and then when you're in combat, because it's quite a fast-paced game. I mean, you can lock on to enemies and that, but you lose the access to. Like you can't have 3. Anyway, the video's there. Go watch it. It's really cool.
Right.
I quite liked it. Coming out July 18. That date might be wrong, but it's thereabouts, and it comes on Game Pass day 1, which we love that.
Oh, we do. It always ends well.
Definitely.
I think and it's made by a super small team. There's no dialogue. Sorry, there's no voice acting, which is fine. I was kind of expecting voice acting a little bit, but it's neither here nor there. Yeah, yeah, and like the social part of it was kind of cool. So you go off into the town and you can explore and you chat with different people, and different people who you've met will give you different perks. So one of the guys that I met in the game, I was given so the perk I unlocked from him was photo mode, and one of the missions he gives me is that he wants you. He's like a journalist, and he's like, can you? And he's like a wimp, so he's like, can you go out and take some pictures for me? So he gives you the camera, but it like unlocks photo mode, for example. And you also can do spells. And there's a kind of scorpion, get over here kind of thing as well. And it's all kind of, and you use the magic and stuff for like puzzles and stuff. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Anyway,
Nice.
Anybody else played anything that they want to talk about?
Only played content stuff, but on the topic of game things that have happened over the past week. So now that I have more disposable income again, I've decided to drum up a physical games media collection project on the side.
Oh God.
Yes, I know, but
I mean,
I'm starting
excited for you, but it's also like I've just decided to like start burning my money aggressively
Oh, absolutely.
in a
that's it.
furnace, in a barrel.
Let's fucking go. I'm starting with bargain basement bin, like sub $10 PS4 disc copies of games, because the PS4 has a huge catalog and they're relatively affordable to find at this point. Zach, you'll be pleased to know the first one in my collection is The Order. So
that was not where I was going to go. See, this is exactly what I was talking about, like pre-podcast, or maybe even on the podcast. I don't remember now. People just hate me. They hate my taste in games, hate my taste in milk.
I like The Order.
I just
bought a copy
well.
of it. Yeah,
Adam doesn't.
I'm in the camp of why didn't people like this? I don't understand.
I agree.
I can see why people didn't like it, but I don't think it deserved the amount of. I feel like if you had that game now, people would maybe not froth it, to like, it wouldn't be acclaimed, but I think people would like it a lot more.
Yeah.
Because
I agree with that.
we love shorter games now. Because that was during a phase where everything had to be open world, had to be bloat, and now people are kind of bloat sick.
Yeah,
bloat sick.
Anyway, proud of you, man. I thought it was going to be one of two games. Because I thought it was going to be. What'd you say?
Can I guess?
Yeah,
Homefront or Troll and I.
Yeah, they're the two that I thought you were going to be.
No. Okay, I should clarify. I only want to preserve physical games I like.
Fair.
This is a historical sort of effort here. This is about James wants discs.
I'm creating a time capsule, and when it gets open, I don't want to horrify people.
They were two games that I did.
Of RE4.
They were two games I did think about last week, but I thought, not quite the.
There you go.
Homefront's all right. Anyway.
Sure.
I'll take that. Nice. Did you play The Order again or not?
No. The copy hasn't arrived yet. So.
Oh, man, how could have? Yeah. I probably got.
And not that I would put the disc in to play it anyway, but still, it's the thought of the thing.
It's the thought that counts. Yeah. Nice
exactly.
One.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, Mr. Whaling, what have you been up to?
I made the mistake of reinstalling Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League to have a look at the. Well, I honestly I had a day off
can't
work.
Be that bad.
No, I had a day off work. My kids were at school. My wife was at work. I was just home alone, and I thought, let's partake in some self-harm.
Let's punish myself.
That's not a funny joke. No, I genuinely saw. I turned on my PlayStation to check out the new Mortal Kombat 1 content. I was like, oh, let's go give Ermac a quick go. And then it had like a big full-page ad for like, ooh, the Joker comes to Suicide Squad. And I was like, I read so much about that being awful. I'm just going to like jump in and I'll just give it a taste. I'll just give it like a lick. And it was repulsive. Like, I launched the game and it went through like its own like pseudo like welcome to the season of whatever, like season of fear or whatever. And then it did like the feature preview where like it just did like a PowerPoint slideshow of here's what to expect from the content. And it's like awful, dog shit, terrible, grindy stuff. And I just went, how am I supposed to engage with this? And then I opened up the Battle Pass and just sort of flicked through it to see what's on offer in this hot new live service thing. And it was all trash. And I
What?
realized I'd spent like 30 something minutes installing the game to check it out, and I wish I could have that 30 minutes back. And the bandwidth, to be honest.
Yeah.
How long do you think it is before that game, and this is just talking about game here, becomes Redfall? How long until they just go, you know what, it's not worth it?
Well,
I don't think it's as busted as Redfall, so I don't know if it gets there
I
as quickly.
think, yeah.
But it's stinky though,
There
isn't
is-
it? Like,
Well,
that player count
Redfall
must be
was
bad.
down to like Redfall required like was it like a 4-player co-op thing?
Mhm.
Within a fortnight of that game coming out, there was headlines of people going, Redfall on Steam has dropped down to the point where you can't even fill a lobby because they were getting peak player counts of 3 at some times. I mean,
It's so rough.
I think Redfall sort of it felt like it had no confidence behind it. And I'm not saying that means that Suicide Squad had a bunch of confidence behind it, but like Suicide Squad sort of led with, and here's our roadmap, and here's the characters. Like, the fucking game ends with like a big splash of like, here's what's coming, and there's like silhouettes of all the, here's all your favorite comic book guys. You're sort of going, I don't think I can stick it out. I just don't.
okay, I'm on SteamDB on Chat the Suicide Squad. What's it called?
Chat the Suicide Squad.
What the fuck's this game called again?
It's called Suicide Squad Kill the Justice
Kill
League.
Justice League. I don't know why I was going to say chat with the Justice League or whatever. How many players do you reckon are playing right now?
Less than 300.
I'm gonna go
That's correct, but
400. Oh,
no,
it is less than 300.
236.
less than
All right,
that.
198.
Less than that.
Less than 100.
Less than 100. Playing right now, like
64.
right now on Steam. I mean, this is according to Steam
I mean,
DB, so
This is during Australian peak.
70.
I mean,
What do you think the 24-hour peak is?
140.
Oh,
I'll go with
145.
There we go.
pretty close. Yeah,
Wow.
interesting.
I mean,
So
that's on
what-
Steam. I wonder what it's across like consoles, but I don't think it's great though.
Is that crossplay in that game?
Yes.
There must be, right? Yeah.
Yep.
All-time peak was 13,500 3 months ago.
That is great.
Well, I mean, Redfall dropped to 3 within a fortnight, so I guess
they
Suicide Squad's
can't
doing
be-
better than that.
I mean, the bean counters, the people with the abacuses, they can't
Oh.
be looking at that going,
No, they already have. Dude, the earnings call's already happened. They've already said it was bitterly disappointing. Or
yeah, no.
they said it.
I mean,
yeah.
like future, you know.
Oh yeah. Like, how does the cost look on an ongoing thing? I think the problem is that they've done like a really big push for selling future content early. So
Yep.
I don't think we're gonna see that game get wrapped up unless they. It's gonna sound terrible, but unless we start seeing a whole new side of the industry where it's like, and what do you do when you can't honor the stuff you've promised? Because like, you know how that's always been a sticking point in gaming. Like, you know, Doom Eternal comes out with a shitty soundtrack option. Oh no, you promised a good soundtrack. Gotta fix that. And then like, you know, I think just even now, Redfall, they're like, we're not going to deliver on that DLC, so I guess we'll just
So here's your money back.
use
Sorry
your money
about
back.
that.
What if?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing.
Is
What
Warner
if they're
Brothers
half-
going to be like, here's your money back? We're
Well,
not supporting
here's
this
another
game.
idea. What if you're halfway through a season pass, whatever they are, whatever the pass is? Have they given you any content for this yet?
What do you mean, the
apart from-
season pass or for the season? So okay. So here's the thing. So it's doing
whatever people
seasons.
paid for.
So the first season was the Joker and the Battle Pass. That's all in the game.
And what's in the Battle
New
Pass?
content, costumes. It's all cosmetic. Costumes,
Right.
voice lines, victory animations. They're all in there. To the artist's credit, some of it's kind of cool. Most of it's instantly forgettable. But the thing is, they want to do like. So what the game ends and it's like, hey, you need to kill Brainiac like 9 times, 11 times.
Yeah,
I
something
think
like
they
that.
have a season lined up for each one of those in some capacity, and that's supposed to be the way that you complete the game, like the actual the whole game,
Mhm.
The true ending.
the true ending. So I think that's kind of the issue. It's not a case of like, hey, our game that we kind of just keep hobbling along. They've sort of promised an arc that they kind of have to deliver in some way. Otherwise, it's just going to be like, like every
But-
movie, they never got a sequel and ended on a cliffhanger.
But have they have people paid for that content aside from what's available now?
I think the
You can-
deluxe edition was just the first season.
You get a battle pass token specifically.
Because if they've already well, if they can just fulfill pass one or whatever you want to call it, right? Then
Oh yeah, but I
'Cause
think
the
it's not
other-
so much the promise of more content; it's the promise of actually finishing the story. Like,
yeah, but because the other option, I was like, what if they gave you the options instead of refunding you? They said, here's pick out of, I don't know, 5 games or whatever it might be. Pick one of 5 games from the Warner Brothers catalog to have.
Warner,
So
here's
you get like
60% of Hogwarts Legacy.
So you get like Mortal Kombat, Hogwarts Legacy, and whatever else they've got.
Gotham
What's the
Knights?
Gotham Knights?
That's like your favorite restaurant saying we've removed your favorite dish because it was dog shit anyway. Here, you can have one of our sandwiches for free. It's like,
Yeah, there's
Yeah, no,
also
but-
dog shit in the sandwich, but it's a different kind.
No, I'm just
Yeah.
saying that it's not one idea that that still keeps the money within Warner Brothers, so they're not technically refunding in a way. But anyway,
I think the only way they get out of that is they pivot. They probably release some proper final patch that, like, I don't know, blows the lid off everything and just goes,
Yeah, like Time Crisis in Suicide Squad. or
Yeah, it
whatever.
was like,
all
you know,
events happening at once.
yeah, all the guns are free, or
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Poison Ivy will be, your best friends. That kind, just whatever. I don't know how they can deliver on that promise because, like I said, the game's just incomplete in the sense of like there is no closure.
well,
But yes, that
Sounds
that
shit.
was my terrible decision. I should have played Mortal Kombat 1.
so Joker's on you.
Hmm.
I didn't even unlock him. I didn't even unlock him. I saw what was involved. I googled how long it took, and I went, nope.
Which Joker is it? Do they ever say?
It's like it's like an original creation. He's not really
Oh, okay.
based off a specific comic incarnation. It's sort of like here's Rocksteady's Joker. He's not terrible, but just How do you follow up on Mark Hamill's iconic Joker from the Rocksteady games?
Agreed. James.
Yeah.
You've been swimming this past week.
I was wondering how you were going to do that. Yeah, so I've been playing pools. I don't know why I had to say it so weirdly.
Is that the space
pools.
game?
No.
Liminal spaces?
Liminal space. Yeah, sorry. I thought
Yeah.
outer space. Yeah, okay.
So did
sorry,
I.
we're on the same page. This is from Tensori is the name of the developer, self-published little indie thing. This is a first-person, purely explorational liminal space game. So this is the idea of like the back rooms, which has been this sort of thing that's blown up hugely on the internet over the past, like, I don't know, 10 years or whatever. The idea of like liminal spaces you're not supposed to be in that give you the heebie-jeebies, but for no real reason. There are countless games using that setting. You've probably seen some of them in some sort of video at some point, but they're usually very reliant on like predator prey mechanics or jump scares or bullshit puzzles.
Yeah.
Like there's so much going on with them.
Oh
But
no,
while
it's
they're all-
Freddy Fazbear.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like-
oh, it's the skinny man. Like whatever.
Oh,
Yeah, but while this has all been happening, they've been building up sort of an ongoing lore. There are certain rooms that appear in, I think, almost every one of these games because it's established as part of like the community's fun with the whole thing. Anyway, Pools comes along and says, okay, what if instead of like sort of weird yellow wallpaper rooms, instead we just set this in a nightmarish swimming center, basically, that is just completely breaks reality. It's presented as found footage. I think there are 6 tapes you go through. Each one can be anywhere from 5 to 10 to 15 minutes. They're not hugely long, but because of the nature of the game, you do end up getting lost and yada yada. You can get some good time out of this. There's no pursuer, there's no jump scares, there's no combat, there's no puzzles. It is just about 3-ish hours of just exploring these spaces. Actually, look like you have a question.
can you go for a swim?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
it's required. Yeah, so
Right.
that's fine.
That was the
So-
fear for me.
Yeah, no, the water's uninteractable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How the water
it's an
physics is
interesting
fun.
premise. Sorry.
How the water physics would
Oh,
I might be
Excellent.
impressed. Yeah,
10
nice.
out of 10 sloshing, like you're really in there. Um,
You're
no, but like
really in there.
that's kind of the thing with pools as well, right? Is that like when you have a game that has this little going on mechanically, it does need to be made up for with things like atmosphere and presentation, right? So if you haven't seen pools, I'd highly recommend just at least watching the trailer because this thing looks fucking incredible.
It's UE5,
Like
isn't it?
just from I believe so. Yeah. So fidelity wise, this is one of the best looking indie games or games I've ever played. Basically, it's kind of insane. And then on top of that, it genuinely made me feel sick. I didn't enjoy playing this game because I found it like quite uncomfortable. I didn't like the spaces it put me in, right? I think through a combination of incredible sound design. So a lot of it is like, the sloshing of the water from certain grates. You can occasionally hear music or whispering or spooky shit, right? Like all very expected stuff. But it all coalesces to become very, very fucking scary. And so it has a great vibe, really cool thing to explore. There isn't a narrative as such, I would say. There's a lot of imagery that implies what I think happened in pools, but what somebody else might think could be completely different. It depends on what you bring to the back rooms, which I think is kind of the appeal of the back rooms sometimes. Yeah, one of the most unique horror experiences I've ever played. It is one of the more memorable things I've played this year. Like it's difficult to sort of turn around and be like, hey, this tiny indie game where you do nothing but walk around weird pool rooms is going to come up in game of the year conversations. But like for me, it will. Like it looks and feels incredible. But it's very difficult for me to explain the appeal of it unless you play it yourself. Like you need great headphones, sit in a dark room, let yourself just fully fall into it. And because like I fucking hate jump scares. And so
Yeah.
I looked up pretty quickly if this had any, and it doesn't. And so like you get to just actually immerse yourself in the vibe of these rooms without having to worry about like, you fucking sound pitching and you jumping because of a cheap scare that they've thrown in there. Like there are scares, there are things in this game that will scare you in a more traditional sense, and they earn those things. And by the time that they are happening, it's more of a deeply unsettling, oh my God, please don't walk through that next door kind of scare than blah scare. Yeah, like really, really, really impressed by it. It's not going to be for everybody, but it's my first Backrooms game, and like, what an incredible introduction.
Did you play on Steam or
Yeah.
PlayStation? Yeah, cool. It's only
Is
on
it
PC,
out on
isn't it?
PlayStation?
I'm not too sure. Yeah,
Oh,
that was my next question. But I just looked it up. It's
interesting.
$14.50, so it's pretty
I was going to ask what the
cheap.
price point was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, $14.50 on
Yeah.
Steam.
I'd say absolutely worth that. Yeah.
Cool. That's interesting.
Nice,
I find it really, it's quite unique in the sense that instead of like, that's the one thing I noticed very early on is that they mentioned that there's no jump scares and like you said, there's no pursuer. It's interesting that they've managed to sort of cultivate a growing sense of unease that sort of manifests as a proper feeling while you're playing. That's got me. I was curious, but now you have my attention.
Yeah, I know what you mean. My only real criticism is that like the second to last tape gets very and this is such a weird complaint, but like it's very fan servicey to the Backrooms lore and mythos. It starts throwing in some imagery that's very much like I've seen this in a bunch of the videos that I've watched about the Backrooms, right? And like I get that. It's not necessarily for me, it's for someone else to go. It's that Leo pointing at the TV like, oh, whoa, it's that. And I'm glad it's in there for those people. I personally think that the pool rooms themselves and locations this game creates that feel unique to this are so much stronger and so much more interesting to me that I wish that maybe just cleave that 20 minutes off and just really hone in on what you've created here. But I mean, other than that,
So, as part of your experience, do you interact with anything?
There's like doors.
But it's not like
Open and close
puzzles where it's like
No.
oh hey, you found a key that goes to that door. So okay, interesting.
No, there are weird symbols around the place, and there might have been puzzles in a room that I just missed completely. But like to have missed it that consistently, be pretty surprising. But no, there's like floating things in the water sometimes that you can like walk into, and they have physics. But that's kind of it.
Nice.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
What'd you
I'm gonna go with an 8.5.
Nice.
Sloshing good time.
Good stuff. Ash, you've also been sloshing around.
Yeah, absolutely. I also played an absolutely uneasy, terrifying experience in the form of Little Kitty Big City. Just, one of those cute little things that you sort of saw getting hyped up around the internet and thought it looked absolutely divine and lovely, and then you play it and it turns out that it is in fact divine and lovely. I had a great time. I came a little bit late to the party though, because I didn't realize it was out yet. I thought it was one of those games that was going to come further later in the year, but then I noticed all these people talking about how incredible it was and had to jump on that wagon while I still had a wagon to jump on. But yeah, I think it's out now. I think it's out now. It came out I think the 9th of this month. It's on Steam, it's on Switch, and it's on Xbox consoles. So apparently PlayStation wasn't invited to the kiddie party, but you know, sometimes that happens. And it's good, clean fun. That's the thing I keep throwing at people. I think I've reached out to every single one of my friends who has some form of young offspring and said, like, if you're not playing this, maybe you should, because I reckon it's one of those entry-level gaming experiences that I reckon serves as a great jumping on point. But in short, you're a little kiddie in a big city. The game starts with a terrifying fall from your favorite snuggly snoozy place, which is like 4 stories up in an apartment building. You do land safely. Kitty can't get hurt. It's okay. And then basically what unrolls is this kind of like pseudo Metroidvania kind of navigating the street level of the city and getting around and unlocking new areas and meeting new friends as you figure out a way to get back up to your apartment block. And it's divine and gorgeous. I think the best comparison I can draw it to would be Untitled Goose Game, if Untitled Goose Game didn't have that dark, malevolent heart at its core, where, like, you know, the goose itself is a malicious evil force, whereas the kitty's just sort of cheeky.
Nice.
It is sickeningly charming in a good way. The writing is surprisingly fantastic. Like, when you interact with other animals, you do talk to them. No voice acting, just some really good on-screen wording, but it still has, like, dialogue options to choose what you say to actually sort of guide your conversations. And it's mostly just based around, like, the naivety of being an apartment cat meeting sort of like these street level animals that have sort of, I guess they're more worldly than you are just because they've been at the street level. But it's all done through the lens of like a very fun sort of childish, playful nature of like the city. It's very clearly based off like a sort of an inner city area of like Japan. It's very Kyoto coded, for lack of a better term, just because like very sort of cramped but open enough to get around. And this means that you'll be sort of scrambling through like holes in the fence. You'll be climbing up on walls and jumping in other areas. You'll be able to jump from air conditioner to air conditioner to air conditioner. And I guess the progression of the game is just meeting these other animals, doing tasks for them that are always fun, getting up to mischief because that's just purely in the nature of a cat, and then eventually getting enough food in your belly to make that big climb back up the building and return. You could probably finish the whole game in like an hour and a half. If you speed ran it just to like get the fish and get back up there, you could do it quickly. But the charm in the world sort of compels you to keep looking into it, finding new places and doing the cool stuff. Well, one of the ongoing sort of trackable objectives that has nothing to do with getting home is finding perfect places for a cat to have a nap. And they're represented in the world by like this beautiful sunbeam landing on a spot that makes it look divine. It looks like an absolutely beautiful place to be. Like, you go into a laundromat, there's a fresh basket of washing there. And every sort of fiber of your cat being's like, yeah, that's where I've got to sleep. And so even though you're like trying to get home, you sort of find yourself going, but where's other cool places to have a sleep? So it's very good at sort of getting into the cat mindset. It's fantastic, and you can tell that it was made by people who really loved what they were making, because like just every little bit that they could do to make it as fun as possible is there. Like even the sprint button, it's called zoomies. Like, you want to go fast as a cat, that's what you do.
Nice.
Interesting. Is it
It's,
voice acting, or is it all just like meow meow meow?
No voice acting. There's a dedicated meow button. No
Of
voice
course.
acting. Sort of, you
Okay.
talk to an animal and they'll make like an appropriate noise. There's like a raccoon, there's a duck. So like you talk to a duck and it'll go quack, but then like, you know, it'll actually say like, oh, this is a thing that happened. But yeah,
Yeah.
no actual voice acting.
Okay.
I mean, similar to like Untitled Goose Game, like even the humans in the game world, they're just featureless.
Got it.
But
Yeah. Okay.
the way that they sort of communicate their mood, I guess, is just through their body language. So like you'll have people walking around, but like you might jump out of a box and make like a human drop their phone, and then they'll get like little angry clouds and they'll sort of stomp away upset. So like the world feels alive without having to get really into the nitty gritty of it all. It's very fun.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
What score did you land on?
Slapped a big 8.5 on it. just mostly because like the game itself, while fantastic, it is a shorter game, which obviously suits its audience, but there's also just a little bit of weird collision issue that I found in regards to sort of like how you interact with some objects. It's nothing critical, but it does mean that when you get into like the really sort of, lean forward in your chair platforming sections, you're sort of double checking what you're doing a little bit more than if you were just playing it freely, just because you're like, will I land on that comfortably, or will I sort of scoot into a wall and fall down? That sort of detracts from it, but it's nothing critical. But you just need to be aware of it, and it does drag it down a little bit.
Nice. Good stuff. Right, we can check out those reviews over on the website now. Before we head to the break, a couple of quick little shout outs, nothing too major, but I've been reviewing the Google Pixel 8 phone, thanks to Google. I mean, I don't really know like what to tell you. The review will be out, but I mean, if you've got like, if you need of an upgrade, it's a solid phone. Between that and like the 8, it has a lot of features that are in the 8 and the 8 Pro. So it's got the new Tensor G3 processor. The camera probably isn't quite as good, but it's still like very good. Like I took the phone to Caskets and I did some photos there, and I took some photos just outside in the garden. So good photos. Pretty good battery. It's got like this matte back as well, which feels quite nice. $850. It's not a.
It's actually kind of reasonable in the phone market, isn't it?
I was gonna say, aren't we used to paying 4 digits for a phone nowadays?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is quite a good option. Yeah, and it's got all your features like your best take, Magic Eraser, and the audio eraser as well. So it's got Google's Gemini AI thingy. Bob is there. The other thing I'll quickly show on camera for those who are watching the video, but I've also been checking out I don't know if you can see that, SteelSeries Nova 5P, Arctis Nova 5P headset, which is a new wireless headset. I've been using that, which is pretty good. That comes out.
What are the 5 Ps?
Yeah.
Performance, power, posterity, positivity, passiona. They're the 5 Ps.
You had me until positivity.
Oh, I made that. I made that completely up.
Yeah.
It is, so it's $299. I think it's out now. I'm not too sure.
Okay. How does that compare to the I guess like the rest of the range?
So with this one, there's now a app. I haven't actually used the app yet because I haven't managed to get it working. But there's an app that's out now that you can connect to the phone. Like you can sync it to your mobile, and you can actually do different stuff with your Xbox and PlayStation. I believe you can do different audio profiles and that through that, which is pretty neat.
It is.
Yes. So I mean that'll all be in my review when it's out. How does it compare? It doesn't have like the DAC, so it doesn't. It has this little USB-C dongle thing, which is pretty cool. Yeah, it doesn't have the DAC. The battery life is 60 hours. I can't remember what my one is, but yeah. It's got the foam cups as well as this one, whereas the Arctis Nova Pro's got the pleathery or the leather ones, I guess,
leathery.
And as this one's I mean I'll go more about it in my review, but just wanted to let you know that I'm checking that out. And I mean I've been using it for the past week, so yes.
Okay.
So look forward to that. Cool. Was there any other shout out? I thought there was another one. KS will have a review maybe up. I can't remember. I can't tell you what the game is because I actually can't remember what it's called. And also Embargo might not be up. So, but he might have a review up. So look out for that. All right, Ash. Speaking of back rooms, can you head off into the back room and tell us about our glorious sponsors, SteelSeries?
I'll get right on it.
SteelSeries is renowned for its innovative and award-winning products that elevate your gaming performance and experience, and the new range of Alias microphones are no exception. Alias microphones feature a capsule that is 3 times larger than most microphones on the market, giving your recording richer and deeper audio. And with the free-to-use Sonar software, AI-enhanced noise cancellation eliminates the background noise that other cardioid microphones will capture. With Sonar, SteelSeries has tailor-made an audio suite that offers the complete solution for content creators who want to manage their EQ levels, personal and stream mix, and it works seamlessly with programs such as OBS and many, many more. Available now, Alias microphones and Sonar features everything you need to take your content creation to the next level.
Amazing. Thank you, Ash Whaling, for that glorious endorsement of our sponsor, SteelSeries, and thank you, SteelSeries, for sponsoring the Wellplayed DLC podcast. Make sure you check out any of the SteelSeries products. They do make bang-up products. And the Alias Pro mics, which we are using, very, very good. And yeah, the Arctis 5P, which I'm checking out, also pretty solid if you don't have the bucks required for the Arctis Nova Pro series. But speaking of big bucks and things, James, let's start with the news and let's go into a little bit of a discussion topic, because we were stitched up. Big Phil and
We were.
Phil and Mr. Booty.
What a name.
Right?
So
Names who have reported all week.
basically like an hour after we stopped recording the podcast last week, this news dropped. And by this news, I mean the announcement that Xbox was closing Arcane Austin, Tango Gameworks,
Alpha
Dogs,
Roundhouse Games are getting folded into ZeniMax Online.
Yeah, correct. Who I didn't realize that Roundhouse was the old Human Head devs, apparently, which I find, just before we go into it, I find that kind of, I don't say like Stockholm Syndrome, but kind of like, what the fuck? Like, because they were making Prey 2 under Bethesda, and then that game got binned. And then they end up back under a new studio, but then back under Bethesda. It's like, and there was all that kind of
timeline, isn't it?
Well, there was all that kind of thing that the Human Head people felt quite jaded with how that whole thing got closed down. Anyway,
Well, because remember that they released like the Prey 2 teaser cinematic that everyone went, "Holy shit, that looks incredible," and then everybody in any form of leadership's like, "Yeah, but we're not doing it."
Anyway, speaking of leadership, James, take it over.
Yeah. Look, it's okay. We've been very public on this podcast about how we feel about Xbox's business practices, right? It has never been much of a secret that, it's kind of been like watching a train very slowly coming towards you, right? And everyone else is standing on, the other side of the tracks, been like, what are you talking about? It's fine. The train's your good mate. Don't fucking stress. Why do you hate fun?
It's old Thomas.
The train just keeps adding more carriages to itself.
Exactly.
Too many carriages.
Yeah, so this kind of feels like it's the this is the fallout of the Activision acquisition, right? Like this is kind of where we've ended up, because Phil Spencer spent $70 billion acquiring a company, and now Microsoft, capital M Microsoft Gaming, needs to make up that money, right? And so yeah, like Zach said at the top, Arcane Austin, Tango Gameworks, Alpha Dog, all just fucking wiped off the map.
Thanos snapped. Only half of them didn't remain.
Yes, exactly right. Arcane Austin, obviously just coming off of Redfall, which was, look, I didn't like that game. Not many people liked that game. It was not a very good game. But they also made Prey, which, look, I have my issues with, but people are very high on Prey. Their legacy with the Dishonored series, like you don't.
I think the issue is though. I think the issue is that the Prey didn't sell overly well.
Yeah,
is the word on the street, right?
Yes.
So when you add that in, and there's
and
Redfall. What I find very, very strange about this whole thing is they were working on Redfall, until the minute old Big Booty sent through that
someone took him out back and
he went. So what? And I find it very odd that patch that was going to make Redfall playable offline was just canned. It's like, just finish that.
Well, even DLC promises that were made upon the game's release, like people who bought like the deluxe edition, it was like, you're gonna
like
get
the hero pass,
like this playable character will come out in the future, and they've just said, nah.
I think they refunded. I think they
give
give them refunds of.
They did refund.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that like they literally were taken out the back shed and shot. Like it's
Yes,
Yeah.
it's such a salted earth approach. Like it's
Yeah.
well, I've never seen anything quite like it with an online game like this.
Mm.
Tango Gameworks is also like a similar situation where the Evil Within 2 kind of didn't sell particularly well. Ghostwire Tokyo didn't sell particularly well, and then Hi-Fi Rush comes along, right, which had been sort of, I think, slowly percolating for about 5 years in the background of the studio. So not a short development time by any stretch. And that game comes along, does, according
It was
to
basically
Come on.
shadow dropped and it
Yes.
blew up.
Well, I think it did. It
Exactly
was.
right.
Yeah, they was during a
Yeah.
Xbox Direct or whatever it was, or whatever they call them.
It was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
legitimately like, oh, and by the way, here's a new game you can play today, and people
Mhm.
loved it. And like
They loved it. Yeah.
It's award winning and it's got acclaim from every direction.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I heard somebody describe it as a like specifically the closure of Tango Gameworks is like a devastating blow to like the Hearts and Minds campaign that Xbox has been running,
Yeah.
because it's like there is nowhere to hide after Hi-Fi Rush. If it had been after Ghostwire Tokyo, I think you would have seen people drumming up the usual, well, if you don't make good games, that kind of crap.
Well, if you line up these studios in a row and sort of like even the most cynical mind can be like, well, Arcane, Austin, Redfall was a flop. And then you'd be like, okay, well, Ghostwire Tokyo didn't go as well as it could. But it's really hard to nail an actual reason for closing Tango Gameworks, apart from the incredibly horrible one that is being reported. And that's simply that what they were pitching was going to take too long to make.
Yeah, so this is kind of the image that I think that's sort of emerged from Bloomberg did some, Jason Schreier did some reporting, I'm pretty sure, but like
And The Verge,
the
I
word
think
on
The
the
Verge
street
did a bit as well,
right,
yeah.
is the idea, yeah, exactly, is the idea that Xbox has now found itself in a position where it has spent $70 billion on this giant company. There's no Call of Duty to put out yet. And it's Bethesda, we get Fallout. It's a massive TV show hit. Interest is drummed up. The next Fallout is 10 years away.
Which
and
I want
so
to
now
talk
it
about,
becomes-
because I just quickly on a side pause to that, because this is, I think, a very, when we spoke, Adam has a lot of beef with the whole PlayStation Last of Us remaster thing, but this is why they did that, right? This is exactly why.
Yeah.
Because you have a hit show and you got fuck all to show people that are now coming into this game. Yes, there's Fallout 4, but that game's what, 6 years old? More maybe? 7? 8?
Yeah.
It's
It's
like
up there.
9, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it really? Is it 9 years old?
I could be wrong, but I know that
Anyway.
when you put it on the timeline, you sort of go, holy snap. Fallout 4 was released in 2015.
Fucking hell. Okay, I was way off.
Christ.
So there you go. 9 years.
And, there's a free update which makes it, but it is still an old game, right? And they're not capitalizing on that hype or on the
No.
on the buzz that they've generated from that show, and it's going to be fucking, and everyone who's like got intrigued by this, probably half of them won't buy, an old game. And then
Oh yeah,
Is
you,
it like-
you can't say to
Oh.
someone who's seen the Amazon TV show like, oh, but you could buy Fallout New Vegas for $5 on Steam. It's like, it doesn't matter that's $5.
Yeah.
Is that it looks like shit to them, right? Like
Yeah.
you don't look at that game and go, this doesn't look anything like the fun, flashy TV show I just watched, right?
There was a reported spike in sales across basically
Oh,
every single one.
oh,
It wasn't just an activity that spiked.
Absolutely. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
but I'm saying more in terms of that like product on shelf, that kind of, Joey down
Yeah.
the street who doesn't get super into the history of Fallout,
What you're discussing is audience conversion rate.
Yeah.
They entirely missed an opportunity to capitalize on that. Like the people who were interested in Fallout games that watched the Fallout show, they already own them all because
correct.
they haven't brought a new one in ages. But the conversion rate was a complete loss because there was nothing new for people to latch onto. Like, there's literally.
I mean,
nothing.
Fallout 4 still did gangbusters, right? Like physical copies sold out in the UK or something like that, which is like, tremendous and everything.
But I mean, it's a 9-year-old game. So what physical
Exactly.
copies were they finding? Like people were literally like
Yeah.
picking it off a shelf and like blow the dust off it. Yeah, I guess you can
Yeah,
buy
exactly.
it. But
Because
yeah.
Yeah.
the other side of this, right, is that like a new Fallout is potentially, a system seller. Like that sells Xbox
Oh, it is.
consoles, right? So if you,
Yes.
and they're already they're struggling in that regard. So if you have a new Fallout, then all these people go, sweet, I'm going to go buy a new, because I can only play it on Xbox. Well, and
Like-
PC, but
by every metric, people are still waiting for the next Fallout game. It doesn't matter what you say about Fallout 76. It is a side experience. It's an experiment. It might be a good experiment by today's standards, but people still want the next Fallout game, the next massive role-playing, narrative-driven, pick your path experience.
Yeah.
Mm.
And they're not going to get that for a long time.
No. And when you're a massive corporation, or when you're probably like the biggest corporation like in the world, and you have shareholders that only give a fuck about money, and they go, "Hey, this show's blown up. Where the fuck's the new Fallout game? Why aren't we capitalizing on this?"
Well, even on that point, there's now conversations internally that have just been, brought up in headlines everywhere. There's now discussions of what do they do? Can they ship it out to someone else?
Yeah.
Like that discussion has come up.
Yeah. I do wonder if that opens the door for Obsidian to jump in at some point. But even then, they're still on the Outer Worlds too, so
Outer
that's going
Worlds
to take
too,
a while.
yep.
Yeah.
And Avowed.
Can't forget
Yeah.
Avowed.
Anyway, sorry, James. Go back to your.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but what we're hinting at here is kind of like, yes, this thing that's emerged where it's like they want to streamline a lot of their production processes, and so it's the reason why like the Roundhouse team got folded into ZeniMax Online, and why I imagine they're just going to be moving to purely tentpole productions, right? To try to speed those things up, because you can't have 5 years before the next Bethesda game in this climate with the way that they have sunk money into everything else, right? There's a really kind of, I've put it in our notes here. It's like, it's a shit show of a timeline with sort of comments around this event as well. So Matt Booty at a Xbox Town Hall event, which like, these things always leak.
So this is after the news came out. This is like a day after or 2 days after.
Day after.
Within 24 hours, like 48 hours.
Yeah. He's quoted as saying, "We need smaller games that give us prestige and awards," to which I think it's the game director of Hi-Fi Rush quote tweeted that news post with like photos of like BAFTAs and Game Awards, been like, "Is this not enough?" kind of thing.
Yeah, literally not enough. Question mark.
Yeah.
Just, we need
yeah.
Smaller games that give us prestige and awards after closing a studio that produced a smaller game that gave them prestige and awards.
Yeah.
But it comes down to simple maths. Like when you look at it from the really cynical corporate perspective, it's just a case that they have this massive investment that has happened. And for all of the guff, like remember when the discussion was like, how does Microsoft make money after sinking $70 billion into this deal? And then I think it was the big boy himself, Big Phil, was just like, when we buy something for $70 million, we're not losing $70 million. We're gaining $70 million worth of assets.
Also, just to quickly clarify, it's $70 billion.
Billion, sorry, with a B. But realistically, they're now trying to recoup this cost, and that's where these closures come from. The fact that Tango Gameworks could serve up like a Hi-Fi Rush 2, which even if it was like a dogshit balloon animal creation simulator, it would still sell because people had such goodwill invested in the first game and what it did.
Well,
they're not willing. But wait, they're not willing to invest in that timeline. They can't. They need something that makes money now, or alternatively, stops costing them money right now.
Yeah, can't is the optimal word there as well. Like, I do think they've just backed themselves into a corner now. And so it's like, you need to go all in on the things that, which is so fucking funny from the man who was like, "Oh, it's not as simple as making good games and that'll sell our consoles." It's like, "Oh, it's a different tune now though, isn't it?" Like, oh shit, you realize you had to make games. You can't just buy people. Oh, sorry, Zach, you wanted to.
Well, I just want to put an asterisk on what Ash said, because that links in with our timeline here is actually we're going to be all over the joint, as we usually are. We can't stay on track. We can't have a good flow conversation. But Ash mentioned that a new Hi-Fi Rush or a new Tango games would sell. Now this links into something that I wanted to talk about, because I've been banging this drum for years, that at some point, and I've never been a believer that Xbox
Say the cursed term.
Game Pass will generate money. Like, there's got to be you can't have this much budget for developing games and not have sales money coming in, right? When all your games are free on Game Pass, no one's buying them, right? So this is that thing, right? They spoke that Aaron Greenberg was the one that put out that tweet saying that Hi-Fi Rush was a success in every metric, blah, 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 right? But they didn't like. How many people bought that game? You know, how many people go and buy? What's
It's
another?
hard because whenever they talk about milestones, because Game Pass is involved, they don't say we've sold X units. They say we have this many players.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
you know, and Game Pass sales. Sorry, Game Pass sales. Game Pass subs. They're like flatlined basically.
They plateaued.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
show of hands, just between the three of us here, how many people think we've probably reached the zenith of what Game Pass can offer as far as growth goes?
Probably like a year ago.
Yeah.
Like,
Because the other side of that is again, like, and we've talked about this before, is Xbox just can't get games out. They can't get games out the door. They can't ship games. They cancel games. The games that do come out are a bit shit.
Dreadful.
They just have. They've put all this money into God, what's that called? AAA, the Initiative, doing Perfect Dark or whatever it is, and that game is, and you know, and like you hear other people talk, and that game is just is fucked. Like a game just has not come together, even with Crystal Dynamics coming in. A game just has not come together. So, and what they announced that big, fucking hot rod studio like 5 years ago. You know, this is going to be this is like the haven of creative talent here. Oh yeah, here's Perfect Dark reboot. Yeah, sick. And now 5 years later, it's fucking, who knows? It's probably still 5 years away. You've got all these other games. Like, I know we'll kind of, you know, we are starting to see them, but we can't play them still. You know, Compulsion Games was bought. You know, they went on that spree, and what are they? They've got nothing to show for it, really. They've just Anyway.
Just poorly managed studios. The other problem with Game Pass as well is that, like, if your console sales have cratered the way that Xbox Series X and S console sales have, who are you selling the subscription to? Like, PC players, the ones that want it, have it. I know that, like, it was streaming through TVs for a certain brand, I want to say.
So I think
Which
Samsung.
is, that's sick. That's really cool. But you know, there was because PlayStation has put out their financial, or Sony put out their financial report, and you know, PlayStation PS5 sales have slightly underperformed. It was like a 21 million goal. I think they're at 18 or 19. Yeah. So, like, you know, not crazy underperforming. I think it was like, by comparison, Xbox was in like the hundreds of thousands, like, as opposed to millions, which is just like, I think it was a 5-to-1 ratio of sales at this point. And so it's like, you're not putting out games, no one's buying your box, but you're still spending money like it's no tomorrow. And you know, there was a I don't know who it is, but it's someone made a LinkedIn post. I think he's like a former marketing exec at Xbox or at Microsoft, effectively sort of. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yes. Yeah. I don't know the name. I don't remember, but it
Oh,
was
I
somebody
think-
from like, you're talking about somebody from like the original pantheon of like what was defining Xbox gaming back in the days. You talk about his quote recently about how it's changed.
Yeah, about how sort of like Xbox used to be a rounding error for Microsoft, but now because of Spencer's sort of acquisition spree, it turns it into if you're going to spend $70 billion, you're going to get the Eye of Sauron turn on you, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can't not be a business at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, we've said it before. I think they're just trying to buy their way into success these days. They're, you know, they're not like Sony. Yes, they close studios, but they still, you know, I want to say they still back their studios relatively well. You know, like, you know, they let.
Certainly seems like it happens a lot less over there.
Yeah, they're not the other big thing about it, like, they're not blameless. Like, let's be clear. Big corporations do not need people to defend them, and we're not going to defend Sony, but we will point out the facts where they are. Sony will close a studio and give a defined reason. They will say, you know,
most of the time
these people were working. Well, they'll just flat out say the project they were working on took too long and wasn't materializing.
Yeah.
That's business. It's shitty, but it's business. And from the Xbox standpoint, it's the same thing, but it's really cruel business.
They're terrible fucking liars, right?
Yeah.
So the thing about Xbox, right? So this brings us to my next point on the timeline. Sarah Bond, who is honestly, I get her, Matt Booty and Phil Spencer really confused about what these people actually do for the Xbox brand.
Well, Phil Spencer's no.
Phil Spencer's playing Fallout 76.
Is he below Sarah Bond?
No.
No, I feel like he got pushed up above her, like Microsoft.
Because
we all know who these people are, right? Sarah Bond was doing a video interview with Bloomberg. Oh my god. And she was asked about sort of like the future of Xbox, and there was a lot of like waffling about sort of their push to mobile and the focus on making sure we're still delivering great games. And then fortunately, the Bloomberg journalist did her job and directly asked her about the recent closures. And I tried to actually get a quote for this to put in the doc so I could read it
Mm.
out. But then I read the quote of what Sarah said back, and I thought there's just nothing really going on here.
Just
It was
spin.
a very spinning her wheels and shit is how I've described it in our doc here
Yeah.
because that's exactly what it looked like to me. Like this is a company head who had apparently just not been prepared to give an answer to this question, which is wild to me. Like there is a
Insane.
genuine flash of fear in her eyes before she launches into the most corporate speak nothing
She should play
answer.
dodgeball.
You know,
I think the thing that hit me hardest from that was just the way that Sarah responded almost exclusively sort of painted games as a product.
yes.
And that was it.
Yep. Yeah.
It was like somebody talking about why they don't stock a particular type of fruit at their supermarket anymore. Like
Yeah.
it completely drained any aspect of like an artistic or creative drive creating these things. And just
The thing that's come back to bite him in the ass big time here now, especially, is that whole good guy image, right? That they've kind of tried to play. You're like, you can't have your cake.
Gamer.
Like, if you make your bed, you got to fucking
James
sleep
taps
in it,
the
right?
sign.
And this is why I think we don't want to say we praise PlayStation, but we appreciate that PlayStation knows that it's a corporation. It ain't your friend. They don't pretend to be your friend.
Yeah.
Nintendo's the same. Like, they don't give a fuck about you. They just want your
I do
money.
wonder if it's like a Western divide, right? Because like PlayStation and Nintendo don't really have these sort of parasocial relationships with consumers. I think that PlayStation is very much trying to position itself as like we're the adult choice because we're very clean cut, minimalist.
Meanwhile, all of
like,
Nintendo's fans are 12 years old.
Exactly. Exactly right. 12-year-olds, hearts of 12-year-olds, either way, right? But like Nintendo sells itself. PlayStation, I think, is having a harder time at it, but clearly, I mean, they're doing fine. Like, I think that sort of inroad that they made during the digital eras with the PS4 and whatnot has clearly led to more and more success. Infrastructure is already there. It's what Xbox has been trying to buy their way into.
But they also don't
Xbox
go
just
around
has
spruiking themselves, though. This is the thing. Like, they don't go around spruiking. You know, Jim Ryan comes
That's
out and
true.
does an interview, and he's flogging bloody PSVR 2, or he's doing an interview with Wired about the new PS5 specs. Like, it's
They
They're not
might
going-
do fun marketing, but they will not dress it up as something beyond we're a business selling you something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's like I understand, like for some people that is a strategy, like, you know, hey, we can get into people's homes by being buddy buddy, but the problem is that it means that when these things happen, when these corporate cynical decisions happen that are just irredeemable, it gets painted as betrayal because there's no other way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
well, it's. Do you find it odd that Phil Spencer's been very quiet about this whole thing? I mean, I think we all agree that this decision was, it's been made well above him.
Mate, didn't you hear his base got nuked in Fallout 76?
I know, I love that. That was
He's
great.
probably busy trying to fix that. It's hard for poor old P3. He's got to try and bounce back. But I mean, be honest. What do you say? Given the expectations of the people that are looking up to him for answers, and I mean, like, here's the thing: there's a big division. You've got the people who are Xbox fans, and then you've got the people who are Xbox fanboys.
Yeah,
and it's a very real thing. The people who say, "Oh, well, those studios sucked anyway. They got to go. They are trimming the fat. Oh, this is just we're so back, boys. We're so back." That kind of stuff. The people who ask a reputable question, like, you know, did it have to be this way, or, you know, is this a sign of more things to come? How do you answer that without giving us, you know, a Sarah Bond-like answer?
Yeah.
I mean, I know
corporate word salad.
I know what I would say to you, but I don't think they would ever. You know, you just got to be honest.
They wouldn't.
I think. Yeah, no. Well, that's what I mean, right? Because share
How
prices
do you
would
communicate this stuff to people who expect an Xbox branded toaster or fridge?
But it is like it might have been. I don't know which podcast I was listening to, but it was I've listened to quite a few the past week, a lot of different takes on this. And, you know, one topic, you know, because I was thinking about it, like the reign of Phil Spencer, I don't know where, Phil Spencer,
Freudian.
has been like, what? It's been like, what, 10 years now? Ish?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I read
He's,
that.
he's been up there. Yeah.
He hasn't done
No.
much winning.
No.
Like, yeah,
Well,
sure, you'd say their
yeah.
brand image is much improved. The consoles are still suck. They still can't get games out. They've got no
Mm.
real big premium first party games anymore. Like that are that system seller level. I don't think anyway. Maybe Halo, but that didn't. That stunk.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean, he's a salesman, right? Like he did a very good job at turning the image of the brand around, and I think that is a crucial first step in what should have been like a 10-step plan in which you eventually make games. But you know,
They just missed the make games part.
it's,
especially when they're like,
it's so funny that like, oh sorry,
Yeah.
no, I was gonna say, remember when they put out that thing being like, we want to put out a first party AAA game or whatever it might have been, like first party game every quarter or whatever it might have been.
yeah,
Yep.
And here we are.
The way we end up talking about Embracer, right, where it's kind of classified as, I think a lot of people when Embracer fell apart, they said, yeah, it's because like all they knew was how to acquire. They didn't realize what it actually took to put those studios to work and get production going, right? And it's, I've never heard Embracer and Xbox in the same sentence until this has happened, right? And I do think it's a really crucial turning point in how we discuss what Xbox has been doing to the industry for so long. I think cannibalizing sales through Xbox Game Pass, the idea that, oh, maybe Hi-Fi Rush didn't sell amazingly well. It's like you shadow dropped it onto a service where people can get it for free, quote unquote, right? Like if the sales underperformed, that's not on the quality of the game. And then it does make you wonder, what happens when Avowed tanks? What happens when Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice does fine, but like I can't see that selling more than Hi-Fi Rush. Like
No.
that is a niche, bizarre, dark game.
I think, yeah, I mean, there's a few things. I think they will definitely bring this to other platforms.
Oh, yeah.
I think
I think they're just going to go multi-plat, like permanently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they.
Are we-
yeah. The smart thing
we
is
got
have
some
time.
kind of thing... Sorry, you go.
No, I was just gonna say. I think the smart thing is having time exclusivity on.
Yep.
So you do have that enticement to get a subscription or to get an Xbox or to whatever, and then because if you cut out, and this is what I've always said, like if you cut out how many PS5s are there? How many have they sold? Do we know what the last figure was?
Oh,
I
it's an
just saw
absurd
it.
number.
X million PS5s. If you're
59
effectively
million.
yeah, so
There you
there's
go.
59 million people who could potentially buy your product. I mean, not that they're all going to buy it, but Starfield, for example, right?
Yeah, that's an
There's-
install base.
There's
Like, that
probably
is-
10 million at a random guess because that's there's $10 million of sales that you've just
Yeah.
um
Mhm.
yeah
Yeah.
It's funny when you look at it from the perspective of even if 10% of people bought it for PS5, that's still a massive financial benefit.
Sea of Thieves is a great example for this, right? That thing is doing gangbusters over on the PS5 now that it's there.
Yep.
Like, like there are people who will buy your games, and it's because like and not to be like shitty about it or anything, but like I do think like PlayStation console owners are kind of used to buying games. Like,
Yeah.
like I mean, like I know that they do their service for like, if you pay us $200 a year, you get X number of games for free, and that catalog is semi decent. But I mean, those numbers aren't amazing, right? Like, I think that people just buy games on a PlayStation.
And that's what-
the way that you rolled it out is just like, oh, Xbox owners don't know how to buy games because there are no games.
Well, I mean, I didn't mean
but
that.
PlayStation
that is
owners
where
are
we-
used to buying games because the games
That's it.
exist.
There's just so much to buy. There's so many copies of The Last of Us you could get.
The other thing on that is like, and I've said it before, right? Is that they've always held firm, being like, no, these bad boys aren't coming to PS Plus day one. You got to buy that. You got to buy this.
It's the
And
Nintendo approach. Like,
and it gives
these
you
are
that premium.
products.
Correct. It gives you that premium, which is why and. Again, I don't know which podcast, but I've said for ages again, that I think Game Pass devalues games. I think it just creates this unfair perception of what a game is worth.
And when
Now.
a game does come to PS Plus day one, it feels like it's a lot more strategic. In some cases, it feels like maybe Sony's thinking like, we're not sure about the adoption rate of this game. We might give it a leg up because there's metrics that say we should, as opposed to just like Xbox. Yeah, you get it. Cool.
Oh yeah,
7-day free trial.
If it's coming out, get it on there. Yeah.
Yeah.
On the Embrace thing, I wanted to say I I think they are slightly different to a certain degree. I think, Embracer are dog shit as well.
Oh, definitely.
I think they had genuine. Their heart was in the right place, mate. Kind of thing. They wanted to bring
Their
these games
wallet
back.
was in the right place. Yeah.
But their thing was money. Like they just didn't have the money to keep this their business model going right. You can't say the same about Microsoft. You can't say that a $3 trillion company had to close these to.
Embracer's full strategy fell apart with one business deal falling through.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, don't get me wrong, it was a big one, but they took a phone call and it all came crashing down.
Yeah.
Whereas
this isn't like corporate.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, and that's that is the difference here, right? Is how can a $3 trillion company justify this move? The other side of it is also it's so close to Hellblade too, right? So you've got to think that there's got to be some form of backlash that comes out from.
It's not just that as well. We're so close to Summer Games Fest. We're so close to the Xbox Showcase where they're going to get up there and they're going to say, it's never been a better time for gaming at Xbox. Like,
it's
how can you do this?
Yeah. The signal to noise ratio in the days past the closing was still just all these little insider things coming out saying, oh, there's going to be a new Doom game announced. Gears of War might be coming back. Who's running ops on that?
Well, I think Gears has been rumored for quite a while. I think that's pretty much confirmed at this point. Yeah,
I've been reporting on that Gears of War collection for like legitimately 4 years now. So
no, isn't it a new game though? I mean like a new Gears. Sorry.
I know. Well, okay. It depends who you ask.
Okay.
It's either Gears will be there or a new Gears will be there.
I reckon. Anyway,
the Jeff Grubb approach.
Do we think that Phil shows up in the Xbox Showcase, or do they handball off to someone?
I think he will.
If they were smart, they'd get the devs to introduce their games. I think you put real people front and center because nobody wants to see those chuckle fucks at the moment. But they're going to get back out there at some point. Like, I made an angry tweet about this on the night it all went down, but like, if that son of a bitch shows up on Kind of Funny and goes, look, it's a really hard time for everyone involved, and everyone on that panel goes, I'm going to
tell you what though, I listened to the Kind of Funny potty after, that was one of my rotations on this because I was curious to see it, right? And have you ever listened to that? Do you listen to like Gary? Is it Gary Whitta?
I go back and forth on the Kind of Funny content.
Gary Whitta, I think if that's his name, I know his first name's Gary, but I think it's Whitta or Whitaker maybe. Anyway, but he's really good. Yeah, he's really good. He is well, that's what I was confused about. Yeah, he was he's really good on it. He said something in that podcast which made me, and he's very like he seems like very anti-capitalism and all that kind of stuff, right? And he's like, when commercial and art meet basically, or they clash, commercial always wins, right? You know what I mean? Like, and this is kind of what is in reference like to Hi-Fi Rush, which I thought was a very, very good quote there on that.
Yeah, I agree. Meanwhile, like, I think PlayStation's strength is it uses art to build commercial. And they still do very much their own commercial shit. And I think they've put out their like big financial report. PlayStation division accounted for 32% of all Sony sales in last fiscal year. That's their biggest revenue generator.
Yeah.
So like they've stumbled into something. I think Helldivers 2 has sold 12 million copies. Just wild stuff happening over there. I mean, granted, nobody could have seen Helldivers 2 coming the way that it has. I don't think anyone predicted that.
Maybe not to the Look, I think a lot of people saw it was going to be something good. I just don't think it was going to be,
but not
this adoption. Yeah.
Anyway, we've been on Xbox for a while. I do want to say one thing, and I do assume this decision came from very high up. I would fully believe that, right? I think it was like 2 or 3 months ago, Sarah Bond tweeted at Tango Gameworks like, "Well done, here's to more years together," kind of thing. And it's like,
yeah. Happy birthday, Tango Gameworks. Here's many, many more. And it's like, oh.
Good Lord. I mean, these discussions would have been happening then. If you're talking about 3 months ago, I don't think you make a call like this.
I imagine it would have been.
No.
Yeah.
No.
It's the albatross, isn't it? It's that $70 billion deal. Like that is, and all the legal fees they would have spent pushing that through.
Yeah, that was the UK court system that pushed back for ages. Because
there's talk now, right, that. And this, I mean, they cannot. this is two separate things, but they cannot acquire someone else in the near future. Otherwise, it'll just.
No.
But how can you?
There's still all these people going, yeah, but Xbox, what about Sega? What about Sega? That's a serious conversation on the internet. It's terrible.
Yeah, no, yeah,
No, I believe it.
and there's talk that they're now gonna, there's internal discussions or debate, that they might start selling Call of Duty, because it's like, how can you, again, right? How can you pass up all this revenue or profit?
If they put Call of Duty, a new Call of Duty on Game Pass, I will fucking eat my hat.
But but again, this is where, as James said, they're going to be fucking liars, because they've said that everything that they put out will be day one Game Pass.
Wasn't it,
Ask Call of
during
Duty.
that? Oh yeah. Well, no, but like I thought it was the when the third party publisher, well then the multi-console shit started leaking out, and they did that like impromptu little 3-person sit down with the 3 figureheads, and they were saying like I think it was everything Activision will be coming to Game Pass. I do wonder if that's just eventually. So the first 12 months of Call of Duty.
Yeah, like they don't say day one.
No. Yeah. Well, I mean, Diablo 4, is it there yet, or?
Yes.
But that was different,
but that
because
wasn't straight away, right? That took some time. Yeah.
But was that because the deal was going through though, or?
I mean, probably. Yeah.
No, even when but even when the contract was signed, that was like the first question everyone had: is Diablo 4 when? Diablo 4 when? I think Diablo had an entire season before it came to Game Pass.
Yeah.
They'd be fucking mad not to sell that game.
Oh yeah. I mean, I feel like they'd need to, given the $70 billion price tag on that company. So
I just feel like it's gonna turn at some point. They're gonna have to start. Anyway, final question before we go. Unless you want to keep going on about it, as much as we love doing that. Phil, should he go? Should he stay?
I don't think it matters.
Neither do I.
No.
Look, when it comes to the cartoonish aesthetic of him sitting in like a dark room surrounded by shrouded figures that like are the shareholders, like it comes down to what they give a shit about and whether or not they think it matters. Like the decisions that have been made in the last couple of weeks have probably stemmed some form of bleeding on their end. And I think the ship is right for now. It's not gaining a ton of water, but give it a few more weeks, see what other decisions get made. Like, I mean, it's not even an anti-Xbox sentiment at this point. It's just when you start looking at all the facts on the sheet, it's just bleak. It's really bleak.
And I wouldn't say that. I don't think, apart from what your Bethesda game studios and your 343, they're probably there's not many studios that I think would feel safe.
No, I wouldn't imagine so. Because
even big old Dinger, I can't remember his last name, but the director of Marvel's Blade, he came out and he stuck the boots in. Good on him.
Oh, really?
He said it was like a dagger in the gut, didn't he?
Well, yeah, I think didn't he say "fuck you" to the executives or something like that, or to that effect?
He said it a lot more diplomatically, because he's at Arcane Lion, right? But his past was in Arcane Austin. But he did say it was like a dagger in the gut. He said, like, these are creative, passionate people that have created art with me, and
that's what makes me like my wrap up note here is that like Tango Gameworks, that was an interesting studio. I didn't love everything they built. I thought Ghostwire Tokyo was like a solid 7, but nothing more. I thought Evil Within 2, from what I've played of it, is killer and weird and different. I don't know. Like I enjoyed what I played of Hi-Fi Rush. It's not really my kind of game. But like that is a studio that like I would be excited to see what they were going to do next.
Same. It's the kind of thing when if you hear they're working on something, at least it'll be interesting. But now it's gone. Yeah. And in the bleak corporate environment where they can't even sell the studio, they've got to gut it, get rid of it, and then just lock the IP up in a vault. That's the shitty thing. Like those people can't even go off and
no, truly. Like the statement they put out, been like, "Oh, don't worry, though, Hi-Fi Rush is still available to buy on all platforms." Like, come on, man.
All that does is make it just that much more bittersweet that Hi-Fi Rush is about, a group of misfits taking it to a big pig-headed CEO. So, it adds meaning to the game. But do you want to buy it just to line the pockets of the people that gutted them? Like,
That's it. Like I wanted to get, like I was talking earlier about getting physical copies. Like I wanted to get a disc for the both Evil Within games, and then like I stopped myself before I hit order on it because I was like, I don't know.
This
Go
doesn't
pre-owned.
feel like tapping Xbox on the nose and saying
Yeah.
bad. Yeah.
Pre-owned's the way to go. Yeah, and I mean, we haven't even touched on the fact that Xboxes, made it quite public that they want to invest, or they want to have some love in Japan, and then they go and close.
I know they're one successful Japanese studio.
I wonder if Shinji Mikami leaving. I wonder if he was abreast of, caught wind of potential,
I've seen people mentioning this.
because he's now gone and started a new studio. But
Well, there was a rumor going around, and again, it was from the people who were like, haha, yeah, fuck them, kind of, this is good business from Xbox. There was a rumor going around that when Shinji Mikami left, he took all the best people with him, which was immediately no, because it's fucking wrong. That's
Mhm.
yeah, no, people immediately went, no, that didn't happen. That's not true. So yeah,
Mm.
everyone's like, oh,
Yeah.
it's okay. The Tango Game Works closed because it was just a shell of its former self. Okay, no,
Right.
stop.
it has been very interesting seeing the Xbox fanboys.
Is interesting the word?
A little bit. I think.
Depressing,
I think there's still a little bit of spin. Like I think some of them are still kind of like trying to like make a positive spin on it,
Oh,
even though
You
like
go
they
down
know.
with that ship once you've
yeah.
tied yourself to it, but yeah.
Oh yeah.
But you can't there's no defense for this. There's nothing.
No.
Yeah. Anyway,
The
let's push
smart
forward.
the smart Xbox fans were completely silent.
Yeah.
The
Yep.
rest of them were like, "This is good. We're so back, boys."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My least favorite reaction has been like people in games media have been like, "Oh well, what do you expect? It's business." It's like don't fucking shrug this shit off just because
Yeah.
like the spreadsheet makes sense in your mind. Like, I don't know, whatever. Is
How
what it
about
is.
your mate?
Speaking,
Hang on, one
my
last
mate.
thing. Ash Whaling's mate, Mike Yabra.
Yeah. Oh,
Here-
don't.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm happy to talk about this, if only briefly. When all this news went out, the fact that good old Mike Ibarra decided to drop his little tidbit of like, "Guys, I bet Phil Spencer feels just as bad as all the people who lost their jobs. It's hard for him as well." And it's like, holy shit, dude. Like,
There's a tweet from Blessing from Kind of Funny, and he just I think it's from him, and he's just like, "Dude, no one cares what Phil Spencer is feeling like right now," or something like that.
the best response I saw was just simply one person who said, "Phil Spencer still has his job, Mike." That was it. And I'm like, close the book.
All
There
right.
we go.
Let's move forward.
Yeah, Square Enix reboots and awakens. Fuck me. So US and Europe teams of Square Enix, they are slashing jobs. This is part of a new business plan that is taking effect. They are moving away from console exclusives. Previous catalog titles are going to be appearing on new platforms. This is listed as Nintendo having multiple platforms, by the way. So Switch 2 is becoming very real. And also some games were cancelled internally as part of this new push. Obviously, the layoffs there are, we don't have a defined number on that yet. They haven't revealed any of that, but it will be hitting those teams. And yeah, I don't know. Like it's my understanding is that Final Fantasy Rebirth didn't set the world on fire the way that I think it was supposed to.
I think the stats are very clear that 16 was underwhelming.
Yeah. So I don't know. Square also having a moment. It's difficult to talk about, obviously, with the eclipse of fucking Xbox, but yeah.
Is the fact that is it a fact that it is because it's not the final part of Rebirth of Final Fantasy VII,
it's
correct?
The middle chapter. Yeah.
Maybe that could be one. I don't know. Maybe that's because they're piecemealing a game across 3.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. I would
Cost
really
of
like
living,
to see.
if you want to throw that out there.
Yeah, I'd love to see what their forecasts are like based off what they think is going to be like. It's a trilogy, right? They want to do 3 parts of Final Fantasy VII.
Mm-hmm.
Their forecasting must be over a very long period.
Yeah. I think the third part will sneak into the very arse end of the PS5 life cycle, but tightly.
It's
Speaking of the PlayStation,
no, I was just gonna say they reads to me like they are just gonna be a franchise company as well, right? You know.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Well, I mean, on any other day, they're talking about fucking blockchain and AI and just.
Well, that's it.
So,
Yeah, there's that going on as well. So this is following from Sony Interactive Entertainment shitting the bed with Helldivers 2 and PSN profile requirements, which they have walked back because it turns out in 171 countries you cannot have a PSN account. And they were like, "Oh, we probably shouldn't have sold a multiplayer game in those areas then." Cool.
Probably.
Do we know why that is? Like, why can't you have a PSN account in fucking Tahiti? I don't know if you can get one in Tahiti, but if you can't, that's the example I'm
Government
using.
regulations, infrastructure. It's all just shit that comes down to cost and them not being willing to pay. Like,
Right.
Because I asked the same question. I was like, that seems ridiculous. Why?
Because
And every rabbit hole I came down to, it was just like paying for data centers, local regulations that say, well, like, for example, I think it was like Vietnam or something has like a bunch of really specific, like, if you want to have a service here, then you need to abide by our rules. And I think Sony just went, nope, moved on. Yeah. So, but yeah,
Okay,
I didn't realize that it was. I didn't realize it was skewed in that direction. Like there are 69 countries globally out of what 240 recognized countries.
Yeah, it's a wild number, and those people will now also not be able to buy Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut when that launches onto PC. So obviously, Sony's big push into PC, I think is good. I'm happy to see them trying to diversify a little bit. I think more games on more platforms is always a good thing, like full stop. But it is weird that they have stumbled straight into this twice now.
It really does feel like a miscalculated step, doesn't it? Because like for all the tinfoil hatting and shit that came from the Helldivers 2 thing, it reeked of incompetence.
Yes.
The game was released, it was sold, and then there was this big realization of, oh shit, people in the Balkans have bought Helldivers 2 and technically can't make a PSN account, and therefore we'll have to stop selling it there, and shit.
Yeah.
And it was if you bought it in the Balkans and they did enforce that rule, you wouldn't be able to play it, correct?
Correct. That was the problem.
Yeah.
And I'm getting conflicted reports here, but for some people, they also said that the areas that the game got restricted from sale, it stopped functioning in those areas as well. Which has since changed. Now, again,
that would be illegal, right? To sell a product and then remove functionality afterwards.
I don't know. I think it sort of comes down to like they'd have to have like a free, like a undisputed refund or something like that. But I haven't got a lot of data on that. The problem is that it's one of those things that it was such a big noise issue that there was so much hyperbole. But I did see at least like 2 or 3 people who game stopped working, decision reversed, game started working. The game, however, did not become available in those areas again, though. So again, this is still talking about Helldivers 2. Yeah, the games that are the places that are restricted from sale are still restricted from sale, which is now mirrored with the Ghost of Tsushima release.
Yeah. So my understanding is that with Ghost of Tsushima, it's the multiplayer mode that you won't be able to use, right?
Precisely.
Like Legends. Yeah. Which is one of the best multiplayer modes Sony's ever put out. Like it is so fucking good. And it's weird that like what should be an otherwise exciting time for them moving into a new market is just it's like stepping on a rake over and over again.
Yeah.
But it's the same rake. Like
you stepped on it last week, Sony. Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it was a developer that confirmed that like you can play the game without using a PSN account. It's only if you try to access online multiplayer that then that comes into account. So technically, you can play through the whole story.
Yeah, it's fucky. Yeah,
it is.
If it's
don't care for it.
Only this is why I'm confused. If it's only to make an account, like if you can't put in your I don't even know what my question is, but why can't you simply make an account? You don't have to necessarily.
As part of making an account, depending where you are, I've had to answer this for a couple of people. Sorry, I'm gonna let you finish. Best album of all time. Depending on where you are, the verification method used can literally boil down to you providing a picture of an ID. From there's data verification services on behalf of particular legislations and.
But you already have a Steam account, though.
I don't know. I would like to see sort of what's what's the piece of paper that says it's okay for Steam to do this versus the piece of paper that says that PlayStation can't do
that's
this?
what I mean.
That's
Like,
what I want to know.
if they could make it where you simply just make an account, you don't necessarily have access to,
Well,
and you
so
link
I
it to
can tell
Steam
you
or whatever.
what the problem is. I can't tell you why it's still a problem, but just when you create your account, you have to specify where you are from.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
you can't say you're from somewhere else, because in the terms of service say if you do this, we can ban you without any question. So I mean,
that part's fine,
that's the
but
thing.
just having the ability to do that, simply to link in with Steam's whatever. You don't actually have to have PSN functionality to it. You don't have to have access to the PSN store.
Yeah,
You just simply
no.
having an account to link to Steam so you can play.
Well,
But
I
I think
mean,
the idea is that I think
Yeah.
it would use the PSN backend, sort of like what is it like not modding, like when you moderate a community kind of
What?
thing.
uh
Sorry, Ash. Like
No,
moderation tools.
moderation tool.
Yes.
By that metric, the question I put forward here and now, people on Steam are playing Helldivers 2 without a PSN account with people on PSN. So the environments can talk to each other, or at least PSN isn't that rigid.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we all know why Sony wants PSN accounts. We all know why, but it's interesting that they've decided to, like, they're not just shooting themselves in the foot. They've blown off their entire leg by doing so, and they just continue to do so. So I don't know.
Well, remember, this is the company that took like 10 years for us to allow us to change our username. So
Yeah.
I
At least
mean,
they don't charge money for it. So.
yeah, you don't even have to go into old excuses. This is the company that decided to cluster shit on the golden goose that was Helldivers 2, the game that had nothing but positive spin for literally months, that was raking in dosh, and then decided to just fuck it all up.
Yeah.
So, I know, it's really strange. And it's the thing that I don't get is, why do they enforce this incredibly draconic limit on who can and can't do things where and when, especially when it's been confirmed that the only requirement for Ghost of Sushi Town is if you want to play multiplayer.
Yeah.
Like, surely there's some dude alone in the Balkans who has a samurai fantasy and just wants to shoot through 40 hours of Ghost of Tsushima by himself. Nah, his money's not good enough. His Balkan dollars.
we'll just have the fucking multiplayer grayed out.
Well, it shouldn't even be that hard. It should just be that if you fucking push multiplayer, it says no worries. To continue, create a PSN account. Done. The start game button's still there. It's just Sony going, fuck it. It just reeks of incompetence. That's the thing I don't get. It's this really weird, obstinate requirement that obviously has some kind of internal metric that they really want to push, but they're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Okay, well, here's 200 countries where you can't fucking do it. All right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Anyways.
at the same time, they drag their feet in getting a proper, like, this is the thing. I was telling people for ages, like, don't get me wrong, the PSN thing for Helldivers was like a 5-day period, but it still felt like weeks. I was telling people, Sony will make a statement. They're like, no, they won't. I'm like, they will. Sony does address things of this size. It's not great, but they do. And they did. So it needs to make enough noise to have anything happen. They might be dragging their feet on actually making some kind of statement to, like, address this, but it wouldn't surprise me if they just come out and say, if you can't have a PSN, you can't buy it. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's not the answer people will want, but it wouldn't surprise me, because at least that way they put it to bed.
Fuck no, that is shit.
It is shit, but like I think if they're not going to come up with some solution to fix it, I think they'll just say.
Yeah.
So how does Sony know that you're using a VPN? How does anyone know that you're using a VPN?
I think there's a lot of layers of software
If we had an amazing sponsor, we could ask them, but we don't. The only times I've ever seen this from a moderation standpoint is when they are scrutinizing something. And it's when Greg got banned for using a slur and then goes to Sony support and says, I promise it wasn't me. And then they go, hold on. Why does your email end in .ru? And then Greg has to be like, and then they go, off you go.
All right. Well, speaking of .ru, James.
Yeah.
What's the next news piece? That was meant to be a Jim Ryan thing, but I said RU and it's not RY. But
Interesting.
Not RY.
Look, this is pretty inconsequential news for us for now. But PlayStation has two new, what are they? CEO,
Two heads.
They are
executive
CEOs.
heads.
They
Yeah,
are.
The Tasmanian
Herman
now.
Holtz and Hideki Nishino are getting the new titles. One of them, so Holtz will be CEO of the Studio Business Group, which focuses on PlayStation first-party teams and overseeing development of intellectual properties in the realm of TV and film. And Hideki will lead the Platform Business Group, which is console hardware, technology, and accessories, PlayStation Network, and third-party relationships with major publishing arms. Ash, thank you for that very succinct write-up. I very much appreciated it. As far as I can tell, this is all like it's corporate hot air until choices start getting made and
Yeah.
decisions form and whatnot. But yeah, look, I think it's an interesting split, like being like, look, it's not up to one person to cover the entirety of the PlayStation brand anymore, trying to pick your battles.
Mm. Do you
Yeah.
what do you think of co-CEOs? Are you a fan?
Well, I mean, if you've read the piece, you see that I make a bit of a meme about the whole, what ship doesn't have two captains? Name a country that doesn't have two presidents. Where would Catholicism be without the popes? That kind of thing. But the interesting thing is that they are very clear in pointing out that these are different roles, focusing on different parts of the business. I think it's less about having two new leaders. I mean, as an aside, the only way that this announcement could be really spun as positive news is if they just flat out said, and they will each make 50% of what Jim Ryan is being paid. It'd be like, okay. It is a division of labor. Sony as a brand's growing. It's getting a bigger TV presence. Film is also a thing that they might start looking into again. I think it kind of makes sense that if they really want to diversify either one of these portfolios, depending where it is, it shouldn't be all in the hands of one person.
But this is PlayStation, though.
Yeah. I mean, it's there. Like Herman Holtz is going to be looking over things like first-party teams and PlayStation intellectual proproperties
Which
in
is
the realm of
basically
TV and film.
What his job
Like,
was previously.
But I mean, if The Last of Us has blown up big enough that they want to start exploring other shit, and they're like, isn't there a God of War TV show being discussed? Like,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like that's percolating.
like there's stuff happening. So whoever's wrist deep in like big IP developments for like massive games and stuff, probably shouldn't also be wrist deep in what's happening on TV. And
Yeah.
the other thing is that like both these people, they still answer to someone.
Yeah, there's the
There's-
big dog of
Yeah,
Sony.
huge dog. So
Tell you what
yeah,
though,
like I.
Double H, he's had a pretty big, he's had a pretty good rise. He's only been out of studios for what, 5 years?
Yeah, I mean,
He was
he
the
was Gorilla.
Yeah, he was the studio director at Gorilla, and then went
Yep.
to. Then he replaced
Oh, this
Yoshi.
dude. Sorry,
Yoshi
I just looked
P?
him up.
Is it Yoshi P? He went and replaced.
Sure.
Did he? I mean, no.
No, is it no Yoshida? No, fuck. Now I can't remember his name. Who's the guy that's always smiling on in pictures and he always tweets about indie games?
Oh, Shu
Yeah,
Yoshida,
Oh,
I think.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yosp.
I mean,
that's his anyway. I thought it was,
Yeah. all right. I just have one tiny rapid news thing to wrap us up. Zach, they are reportedly remaking Resident Evil 1 quickly. Yes.
I heard that. Yes, yeah, I'm happy with that. That makes sense. It's like 30 years, isn't it? The anniversary of 30 years is coming up. Pretty sure it's
For the remake or for the original?
the original.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I was gonna say, don't tell me the GameCube was 30 years ago.
Yeah, I was
Probably
gonna say that
crumbled
plays
No,
to
no, no,
literal
no, no.
dust. Yeah,
Nah, for the
20
I mean,
I can deal with.
yeah,
I mean,
20. Yeah.
it makes sense. Like I'm keen to see that game in RE Engine. Like I think you can't.
It
Yes,
makes
it's had a remake before, but the remake we get now is
Yeah.
a different generation of remake. You know what I mean? Like that remake was great for what it is, and it's still a fantastic game. But it's still
are
fixed
quite
party,
literally-
fixed camera.
Yeah, you're quite literally looking at a very specific, I guess, standard that people are used to now, and there's sort of a suite of Resident Evil games that are coming out in this way. We've got 2, 3, and 4, everyone's like, oh, of course, there must be a 1.
Mm.
But
Mm.
no, it makes perfect
yeah.
sense.
And again, it is smart business, right? Like it makes sense that they would go back and it clearly works. Like they clearly make money and critical acclaim from this. So why wouldn't you do it? But the other
Oh,
good thing
yeah,
is
wasn't
that they have a new game and the remake at the same time. So they're not just putting
Yep.
the eggs in the remake basket. At least they are still
Mm.
pushing.
That and when it comes to the standard of remake, this is like one of the ones that people aren't really upset about.
Mm.
Like
Yes,
there's a
I
lot
agree.
of remakes that get a lot of consternation and discussion, but like the Resident Evil ones, people just sort of go, yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I think Capcom they announced they're just growing year on year. Like everything about Capcom's business seems to be solid and good. So
Just
I mean,
think Dino
correct me
Crisis,
if I'm wrong, but
surely.
these, yeah, well, eventually. Oh, well, when's the 30-year anniversary of that coming out? Correct me if I'm wrong, but the turnaround time for one of these remakes, especially from a Resident Evil perspective, it's not terribly long either, is it?
no, they are
No.
pumping them out.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably because they give their employees pay rises and work leave and shit. So
Yeah.
what a
I mean,
concept, Xbox.
well, was it ahead of a Capcom brand that said like, if you're constantly firing people, how will morale stay in place to actually create good products or something? Was that a Capcom lead that said that? Yeah.
Sounds right. And it is correct. So
We got 5 years before the 30-year anniversary of Dino Crisis.
We might still be alive. Maybe they'll
Mm.
do a 6-year anniversary and wait for us all to be dead.
There was a little part of me
Maybe.
when Shinji Mikami left Tango, I thought maybe, just maybe. It might have been because, it was one of my predictions, but I thought maybe. Anyway.
Look, I'm
That's
very
nice.
much. Look, okay. Just before we leave Dino Crisis, maybe.
Mhm.
Look, we've got a Jurassic Park survival horror game coming out.
Mm.
Maybe it'll do well enough that someone at Capcom will be like, hold on, there's money there. Maybe.
The thing is, like, they always put out that survey, and every time they put out a survey, there's news articles being like, Capcom wants to know if you want a new Dino Crisis or, something to that effect.
Yeah.
It's always the headline.
Pirate Veronica is next.
I don't know.
But yeah.
Look,
But James, did you read
Mac-
about RE9? Sorry, Dino Crisis. Bite me.
Yes, the leaks, the Southeast Asian island, Leon, maybe Chris as protagonist, semi-open world.
Leon's like 50.
Look, that is the most interesting part because like I would rather they get one of the women back in for a lead role. I think it's been enough time that we can cycle back around to that. I think Chris
Which
is
women
pretty,
you want? Woman. You want?
I think it's Jill's turn again. I think RE3 remake put her in the zeitgeist just enough.
Who else is
but-
there really that you would put front and center?
I mean, Ada, I
The
think would
young
make
girls.
a decent protagonist.
But I don't think you
Claire's
have.
okay.
Do you have a mainline game with Ada though? I know that
I don't see
feels
any reason why you
that feels
couldn't.
weird to say. I don't know. I've always
Well,
found her
I
to
just
be
think-
not a side character, but you know what I mean. Like you wouldn't. She's not a
Yeah,
main.
I
Yeah,
it's a bit basic.
not
Yeah, but
basic.
I mean,
I
like,
love
think
Ada,
Chris Redfield is pretty basic.
but he's a frontline.
Yeah.
He's not a.
But after
but, like,
8,
yeah.
don't
I
you want to
think-
see him
Anyway.
step up in 9?
Well, yeah, the new Chris that shoots people in the head and doesn't explain
Walks
why he's
in and
stealing
caps
babies.
your wife during dinner?
Yeah,
Sorry, man.
love
bang.
this new Chris.
See,
Yeah, like if they do an older Leon, I'd be on board with that because I think you're starting to venture into like legacy sequel area, and I would love to see what Capcom thinks a matured Leon turns into.
I wouldn't
Where'd
mind
everybody go?
Rebecca.
Bingo? Because that's where I want to be.
RE0. Anyway, but
Oh,
yeah,
Billy and Rebecca.
that's it, mate. But surely they're gonna do. You gotta remake Zero next. I would be prediction here. Hot off the press. Combo. RE01 combo. Put together.
Yeah, I could see that.
Why not?
30
That
years.
would actually really uplift it as well.
Yes, they reckon it might be launching in early 2025 as well. I heard that, and announced soon. So whenever the next PlayStation event is.
Before we leave the Capcom news, just Zach, you talk about those feedback surveys and how they always say Dino Crisis.
Mm.
You want to know what's actually soul crushing? They don't even fucking mention Power Stone anymore.
I don't know what that is.
What is
Exactly.
Power? Yeah.
It sounds like
It was an amazing arcade fighter. on the
dishwashing tablets or
Dreamcast.
something.
Power Stone. No, that's Power Wash.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. No, it used to be on there, and now they don't do it anymore. That's how you know that they're just like,
Mate, grow up. Power Stone looks like it's for kids.
it is. And I was a kid once.
All right, cool. Very good job, James. Well done. Let's go to off topics. Let's wrap it up because we've a lot of Xboxy talk, a lot of talk, but it's been good. Before Ash gives us 2000's film of the week, I watched a really good film that James, I really want you to watch. It is called You'll Never Find Me. It is an Australian film. It came out last year, I believe. I just did have it up, but so it came out. Oh, it came out in June last year. Okay, there you go. It is it's set in like remote. I guess like remote Australia, but
You want the synopsis because I've got the page open?
well, I've got it here, but I kind of basically it's this guy. He's in a remote caravan park, and it's pissing down rain. There's a huge storm, and then a random woman knocks on his door, and it's just about the events that follow from there on during the night. And you would have seen in our well played Discord community, Buddy did mention that the sound design in that film is excellent. It is fantastic. It is a really and it's it must be minimal budget because that is it's basically just in the caravan and just two characters. Yeah, and it's excellent. And there's a really yeah. You should see it. It's got 79% on Rotten Tomatoes. You can watch it on Shudder, I believe. Oh, hang on, here we go. Let's have a look.
I was really disappointed with Shudder.
No, maybe not. Sorry, we rented it from Apple TV, so but it's on Prime for $6. But would highly recommend you watch that.
Interesting. I watched No One Will Save You, the Alien movie.
Have I seen that? It sounds familiar.
I don't know. Little hour and a half, very conceptual. I think there's like 2 lines of dialogue the whole time. One of those movies where like the first half you're gonna watch it and you're gonna go, this is fine, but like, why? And then the ending, fucking elevates the whole thing. Highly recommend.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's how I felt with the other horror one I told you about, Malum, which I think you still should watch.
Okay.
All right. Ash, you watched anything?
Recently, completely by accident, stumbled into watching Poor Things on the old Disney Plus. I enjoyed it because it was a fantastic film, but I also got a very special bonus track for enjoying it because my very sheltered brother from the coast came up and sat down and watched it, and
oh boy,
yeah, I don't think he's ever seen anything quite like this, but it was interesting in the sense that I feel like he couldn't look away just because he didn't know what was going to happen next. Don't get me wrong, neither did I, but at least I could see like there's a lot of really artistic stuff happening. I think he was just shocked, stunned, curious, terrified. But yeah, incredible. Still don't really understand why Willem Dafoe's character had to do such magnificent CGI Burt bubbles, but that's a small piece of a very big puzzle.
That's it.
But yeah, it was. I thought it was an incredible film. I could definitely see why it won awards. For people who've seen it, did you stick around and watch the credits as well?
No. Should I have?
I mean, it depends if you're a credit head like I am, which sounds like the altogether most. I'm gonna say that makes it sound like the most terrifyingly boring hobby ever. But if you're a credit head, you'd like it. It's just got these really interesting landscapes and sets. Like basically, it's like somebody went and took really interesting photographs of each one of the sets when it was dressed, cool. And it just gives you this really interesting look at the world that was on offer without stuff happening in the world.
Emma Stone dancing across the screen, yeah.
Well, without Emma Stone, stabbing a corpse's eyeball and urinating on the floor, or any of the other hundreds of things. But yeah, completely on a whim. I had zero idea going into it. It was just literally they came up. They don't have high-speed internet down there. What's on streaming? Oh, this won an award. Play. And then 2.5 hours of just me thinking the film was great, but always just checking his face to see like how he was getting on. Yeah, very fun. Yeah. Like he's still one of those people that's just like, did they add a Q to LGBT? And I'm like, Yes, they did.
Bless him.
Yeah. He's catching up. He'll get there.
Nice. All right, 2000s film of the week. Give us the synopsis. Let us try and guess your masterpiece.
Sure. So just double checking. 2000's been between like 2000 2010, yeah? Or is it, cool. All right.
2009, I'd say, is probably
Cut off. That's fine. That's
'Cause
fine.
the
All right.
10s
So do you want a year for this one or just the synopsis?
we just want the synopsis.
Synopsis. All right. When an affluent couple lose all their money following a series of blunders, they turn to a life of crime to make ends meet.
Not Mr. and Mrs. Smith. No, that's not that.
No, but that's when I asked myself what would I guess upon hearing that synopsis, that was the first thing I said. Mr. and Mrs. Smith was a good film though. Not a great film, but a very good date night film.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah. One of the lesser known names. I was going to say one of the lesser known names was a young Tia Leone. Not super young, but
Tia
younger.
Leone. Wow. I want to Google her, but I'm not going to Google it just yet.
All right. What's a slightly more known name?
Yeah.
Slightly more known name. I can give you. Do you want me to give you a writer? Or because if I say the other one, you're going to suddenly jump on it. One of the writers was Judd Apatow.
Oh,
Any more, and I'm going to have to give you Tia Leone's co-star, and that'll probably open it wide open.
I need to see Tia Leone's face to remember to get.
That's the problem I'm having as well, but I can't Google her because it'll come up.
I'm gonna Google it, but I'm not gonna read anything.
I'll Google it, but I don't want anyone to see it.
No, I just want to look at the pictures.
Yeah.
Wow, she does not look like I remember.
Oh,
yes,
that woman. Yeah,
pretty blonde lady with a very, very defined nose. In a nice way. I'm not being mean.
Now you've
give me all right, lead actor.
All right, the big name in the film is Jim Carrey.
Actually, still doesn't help me at all. Shit.
Can you go the summary again?
The summary. When an affluent couple lose all their money following a series of blunders, they turn to a life of crime to make ends meet.
Life of crime? It can't be the Cable Guy. That's stupid. Jim Carrey.
Oh,
is it like the he has like the funky name?
He has a funky name.
I don't think that's right.
Define funky name. Like for me, funky names like Buck Steelgirder, or Rip Hard
I keep wanting to say Derek Zoolander, but I know it's obviously not Derek Zoolander. But it's like one of those like names. One of those names,
Name. Dick Harper was his character's name.
I cannot think of the fucking.
It is actually a massive clue as to what the film is.
Get Dick?
It's
if you want, but no, not this one.
Nah.
Okay. All right. So Carrey's character was Dick Harper. Tia Leone's character was Jane Harper, meaning that the characters' names were Dick and Jane, and the film was Fun with Dick and Jane.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. I know. So in Jim Carrey's massive run of like meteorically huge films, this was one of the first ones that sort of stumbled because people didn't know what to expect. It was okay, but a lot of people sort of said it's not Judd Apatow's best work, and like Jim does a lot of great stuff, and T is always great, but it's just sort of an interesting one because there is a bit of darkness to it that it doesn't quite gel.
Okay.
29% on Rotten Tomatoes, so she's
Well.
What do you mean she's well? What are you talking about? She's been married to David Duchovny. Like, isn't that the big thing where you go,
I was talking about the movie. I don't think actresses get Rotten Tomato scores.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm talking about,
Imagine.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Wellplayed DLC podcast. You can check out the content on www.well-played.com.au. Lads, good times. Everybody else, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next weekend. Next weekend?
Next time.
Next week, sorry.
Until the next Xbox headline.
God. Good night. I mean,
Goodbye.
whatever.